I am here with actress Kavi Ladnier, who is currently starring in Hate Fuck for a couple more days.
7 more performances.
7 more performances. Before we talk about the show, why don't we talk a little bit about when you first decided to become an actress as a full-time career, and did you receive any blowback from family or?
That's a great question. I've wanted to be an actress since I was 5 years old. When I saw the little girl at the end of The Jungle Book, she comes out with a pot on her head and she's singing. She doesn't even get a name until the second Jungle Book. And I saw her and I looked at my mom and I said, I want to do that. Ironically, 40 years later, my daughter is series lead in the new Disney animated series Mira Royal Detective, which is the first South Asian animated character.
So funny. That's so full circle.
So full circle.
Yeah.
But so I've wanted to do it since I was 5. I've went to NYU for theater, which at a time when there were very, very few South Asians in theater whose parents didn't force them to first go into engineering or pre-med or something like that, So I'm very blessed that, that
so
they
were
supported me.
The whole time.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was incredibly supportive. My mom was incredibly supportive. I think that, they just wanted to make sure I was secure. It's not exactly the most secure profession.
Right.
But no, I mean, I couldn't have done it if they hadn't supported me in doing it. And then I started working my senior year of college. I started working professionally, and
you mentioned that you, when you went to NYU, that you were one of the few brown actresses that were in the program. Do you think, in today's day and age, that has changed significantly?
Absolutely. I think there are, it's just night and day. I mean, I think there are more and more kids that are just going to school directly for what they want to do, I mean, because they see it. And that's the whole thing, right? It's about representation.
Absolutely.
And we didn't see it ourselves.
Did that challenge you even more to succeed? In terms of, not that I'm saying you didn't have the drive to succeed originally, but seeing that you were such part of a small community, did that push you even harder?
It's interesting. I was a little myopic, I guess, in the way I looked at my life and career. I just never assumed I wouldn't do it, and which is probably a good thing because I might not have pushed myself as hard.
Right.
Little brown girl in mid-90s shouldn't really have been working as much as I did, but I was, and I think it was just much later when I started to realize, oh wait, there's not representation. There's not. I didn't let myself think about it in the beginning.
Well, that was probably better. It's such a sad state of the way things were back then that this even is still a conversation.
Oh, for sure. And it's not, and it's better.
It's much better.
But it's a louder conversation now. But it's a conversation we still need to be having because roles like what I have right now should be the norm,
Absolutely.
And Rahana wrote this play because she was sick of not seeing brown characters or Muslim characters being able to have that full range. Sexy and smart and intelligent and loud and brash and all of these things that my character is in this play.
And for those who have not seen the show, first of all, rush to it because it is almost closing. You do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And you represent what is trying to be represented very well. So when you graduated at NYU, did you make the conscious decision to stay here in New York, or did you decide you wanted to go to LA and try your
No,
out there?
I was a New York snob.
Yeah.
I was going to stay here, and I did. I stayed here for 13 years, and I got married here, and I had a child here, and I was going to stay here until LA called me, and then I realized that LA wasn't calling, and back then, it might as well have been LA and Europe, that distance.
Yeah.
Now it's much closer. It's much easier to be bi-coastal. And then, a friend of mine said, there's a lot of opportunity out there, you should go. And again, it was one of those moments where I didn't think, I let my heart lead me. And, it's that William H. Murray Goethe quote about when you decide with your heart, providence steps in. And I kind of decided, and everything fell into place. And I took my 2-year-old with me, and I thought I'd be there for a few months for episodics, and called my then husband and said, I love it so much here and I want to stay, and now it's coming on 14 years in Los Angeles.
Wow. What types of roles were you booking here in New York versus what you ended up booking when you made the decision to go out to LA?
Well, I did more theater here for sure, and I did do some television. The biggest film thing I had done at that point was in India, which my very first film I did in India. But yeah, I did mostly theater, which I loved, but I just wanted to explore television, and I just found that I sent tapes, you know, it would go on to producers, and then it would just kind of disappear, and I needed to be there, you know. But it's really interesting because now there's so many actors, and there's so many jobs in New York that they don't need LA actors, and so to get back in,
you have to come back to New York.
Is really difficult.
There's so many shows that tape here now, especially with the advent of Netflix shows.
And they simply don't need to find, you know, unless you're an A-list actor, they don't need to bring you from LA. So this was a godsend, you know, a gift of an opportunity to come back and you know, to do a starring role in a show like this.
Yeah. Did you have? I know you were on Heroes. Did you have any person when you were coming up that you looked up to in terms of the entertainment industry, or said, hey, this person really has a career that I would like to emulate, or did you just go in with the idea of I'm going to blaze my own trail?
I think like every actor, I loved Meryl Streep. I mean, but I genuinely loved her, and I didn't look at skin color or any of that stuff because, frankly, other than other Indian Bollywood actors or from Kerala, where I'm from, you know, South Indian actors, I didn't really see anyone like me. So it didn't even occur to me that I needed to search that out. I want to be that for others now, but that was not something that it was even on my mind back then. No, I mean, I had a trajectory. I've known my whole life. I wanted to go to NYU. I wanted to go to Yale. I wanted to be an actor. That was it. You know, but I booked my first professional job my senior year of college at Yale Rep. And I kind of was like, well, I think I just want to act. I just want to work. You know, I've already worked on that stage. I was as close to Meryl Streep as I thought I could get at that moment because I've worked on that same stage, you know, and by no means do I put myself in the same league. I'm just saying she's something to attain to, both as, you know, both as a woman, as an actor. She's, you know, has an exemplary career. And I think it's important that we have role models. And I didn't have the time or the wherewithal to think, oh, I don't have people that look like me to look up to. This just wasn't a thing, you know, and I've had young people come up to me, even when I did Heroes, which was, you know, 10 years ago, to have a South Asian woman who has a darker skin, that was a big deal. I got a lot of mail from people who were just so happy to see someone who looked more like them, you know.
Now that I think about it, with Sendel being on that show, I mean, he was kind of ahead of the time in terms of a brown actor being a series lead on a television show.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was a huge deal.
Yeah, but now I feel like there's more opportunities. Priyanka Chopra is obviously blown up. There's an actress on Manifest who is Indian, and there is a doctor on New Amsterdam who's a very famous Indian actor.
Yeah, Anupam Kher,
yeah. So I feel that we're finally starting to get to a place where people are starting to get integrated. Not as much. It would be great to see a show full on with all, you know, brown leads. And
well, we joke about that, you know, you can't have two in one screen, but you know, we did in Heroes. I mean, you know, it was the two of us, and you do see it, and you know, Priyanka Chopra is a megastar in India, and you know, the fact that now she is here as well, you know, it's very exciting. And but there are so many actors here who have just worked from the ground up, just like every other actor. You know, brown actors, just like every other actor, who deserve these opportunities to tell real stories. You know, because and not be limited to the sidekick or the terrorist or the doctor or the lawyer. Again, I've always said, you know, I don't care about the accent, because there are Indians with accents, and I can do I can do about 15 really great Indian accents, as long as they're real people.
It's
and
almost
not
like
stereotypes.
There's a balance that has to be struck of, yes, we do have to portray ourselves in a certain light, but at the same time there should also be projects where it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what,
absolutely,
and it would just be nice for that. Hopefully that comes sooner rather than later, where it's just an actor of the best and the highest talent.
Absolutely.
being on a television show.
Absolutely.
Regardless of skin color or gender or nationality or whatever.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for him, but I mean, I think that Senthil has had that kind of career where he's been cast like that. So it is happening.
Yeah.
You know, and it's exciting, you know, because we are in that time where there's more openness. But it's, again, yes, these are big steps towards the goal,
bigger, yeah.
but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you know, we still have many, many more steps to go.
Yeah. So talk about Hate Fuck. It's a really great play. It's a very very powerful play.
Thank you.
It's very intense. Trying to think of what other great adjectives to use to describe it. It's just a very intense hour and a half, which doesn't really start out that way. It kind of just starts out as you guys at his apartment at a party, and then suddenly layers just keep getting peeled back and peeled back and peeled back, and then unfortunately in the conclusion of the play it doesn't really go how you'd like it to go, maybe, or depending on how you think.
Yeah, it depends on who you
Yeah.
are.
So talk a little bit about this role and what it has meant to you to play it. Have you felt empowered by it?
So much.
Yeah.
So much. I knew when I read the script that I would grow as a person. Layla, embodies she's powerful, she's witty, she's super funny, she's you know, intelligent, she's loud,
Yeah.
she's unapologetic, she's super sexy, confident in herself, you know, and these are all things that I wanted to deepen within myself, about myself, you know, and I really was hoping that I would get that from this, you know, that I would get an opportunity to breathe life into a character who would give me something back, and she has. I mean, I was joking that I'm going to carry her around as my spirit animal because she's been tremendous.
Yeah. What I liked about the show was, even though it was very two-sided in the way it deals with the Muslim faith and one person's point of view over the other, it also could be looked at as a very interesting piece of theater, just based on a couple not agreeing on certain things.
Oh, absolutely.
But it was nice to see the Muslim point of view of it.
Well, it's very you know, look, it's what I love about this piece is that you have a Muslim American playwright writing these Muslim American characters, two very different viewpoints, but within the same community.
Yeah.
It's not being written by an other who is, you know, supposing what they think, you know, their experience is going to be. You know, these are two very different but really real responses, you know, to being Muslim in America right now, and they're real, you know, and I love that. But also, I believe wholeheartedly that anyone can relate to this because everyone knows what it's like to want to be with someone who isn't necessarily the best for you. You know, everyone. It doesn't matter what your faith is or where you're from. You know, and it might look good on paper because they look great on paper, but you know, maybe it's not really the right thing. And and I think everyone can relate to that. You know, but I also think, even though, you know, so much of their discussions run around, you know, their varying viewpoints about Islam and all that stuff, I think that also, you know, people can understand that. People who are of the same faith but have varying viewpoints with their spouse or with their partner, people who, you know, come together who may be of different faiths, you know, having to adjust and understand and learn. You know, I think you can't be in a relationship unless you're willing to release some of your ego and stop being so stubborn. And these two are very stubborn.
What I liked also was that there were a lot of tongue-in-cheek kind of references to being Muslim and just the stereotypes, and I found that refreshing in terms of we weren't laughing at being a Muslim and making fun of being a Muslim.
Totally.
It was kind of like tongue-in-cheek of, but yes, this is what we actually deal with. And so I thought it wasn't something that hit you over the head, but kind of subtly made it.
I think within our communities as well, you know, in terms of being South Asian or, you know, whatever your community is, whether you're Catholic or, we have our, the way we appear to people, and we all kind of back that up. And then, you know, we are how we really are.
Right.
You know, and I think what this play does is show that, you know, unapologetically. You know, and even for me, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying some of these things because it's it's so real,
Yeah.
you know. But I love it because it's happening. All
Yeah.
these things are happening. It
Right.
is, you know. But and when we as communities set up these like ideas of how we're supposed to be viewed, I think we are adding to the problem because we're not willing to show all of us, the humanity of us, the realness, you know, the ugliness, the dirtiness of
Right,
it, you know,
right.
just being human, you know, the juiciness of being human. And so then these stereotypes grow and grow and grow of, and oftentimes the extremist ideas in any culture are the ones that get traction. And then media and everything else holds on to them because, you know, they sell the most.
Yeah.
But I
And
think
it's still
something
happening throughout every culture today.
throughout every single culture, you know, but why can't a play like Hate Fuck that, you know, shows, you know, two brown people, you know, two Muslims who are, you know, just unapologetically themselves, you know, the sexuality of it, all of it, you know, it's why not? Why shouldn't that be what we lead with?
What I also loved was obviously the chemistry you both have with each other. Did you have to really work hard at that chemistry right off the bat, or since you guys kind of knew each other, there was a little bit of a comfort level already?
There was
built
definitely
in?
comfort. I mean, we didn't know each other very well, like, you know, and I've said this in other interviews, but like, you know, when you're a series regular and you get to dig into a character, you know, you get to create that depth.
Right.
I was a guest star in the first season and on the fourth season, so, you know, there was not really a lot of time to create that. So, you know, it looked like we had it if you saw it on screen, you know, but you know, you could never really know. We instantly felt comfortable with each other. You know, we were both really excited to work on it together. Once we read the play out loud the second day of rehearsals, everyone knew that there was something there. No, we did not have to work at that. Came with such ease to us, and now
That's one big hurdle that you didn't have to overcome. That,
Yeah,
which is great.
we-
You can just focus on the work and the words.
Totally. We just trusted one another, and and there's just an ease with working with Sendel, you know, and we just are, and with every performance, that just it gets juicier and just so much freedom, you know, within that space. It's been just a joy working with him.
What came to mind for me when I was watching the show was that he comes across as very arrogant, but then, you know, your character is not always that likable either. It's like, it's kind of, both of you are kind of really screwed up, and I like that back and forth where you're kind of rooting for her at one point,
And
then you kind of root for him, and it's like, wow, they're pretty screwed up people.
Yeah.
They kind of deserve each other. So what have audiences been saying to you? And I know that you interact a lot with fans, and you've had a lot of your professional friends come to see the show. What have they said about it?
I mean, people have loved the play. It's intense, you know. I mean, Rahana packs a punch.
Yeah.
You know, it's 90 minutes. It's not just hitting you over the head with, you know, this is what Islam is. It's wrapped in this relationship and the sexuality, and it's hot. And it's people really are hungry for this.
And it's 90 minutes of
Nonstop.
There's no
breath.
sitting there like, oh God, when is this scene going to be over?
No.
It's bam, right out the gate.
And you guys might get to breathe, and there might be some light shows and all that stuff. You know, we're always wondering what's going on out there.
Yeah.
But we're like constant, changing clothes, whatever it is. It is a marathon. You know. I mean, people have been like, you know, we're leaning forward, we're listening. You know, they love the chemistry. You know, they love the writing. You know, South Asian. Friends of mine or whoever have come seen it have just been so moved by the fact that something like this exists, you know, and I've been so moved by especially older white patrons who have come who just stopped me and just said, I love this play, it's so important, you know, and so much of what Layla says is geared towards those who are on our side, you know. It's this conversation about privilege that we are talking about right now, you know, and until people who have privilege recognize it and own it, and not feel like they're being blamed, but just say, oh, right, this is real.
There was not 1 second of that play that I felt as a white male that I was being talked down to.
No.
It was nothing like
Not
that.
at all.
It was, hey, we're going to poke fun at what you're probably thinking. And we're not doing it to make you uncomfortable.
Not at all.
You're just doing it as part of the story.
And I could hear that in the audience. There were times where I could just feel the energy of people listening to that, because I think, especially when you are someone who is an ally, one tends to then just say, okay, I'm woke, I got it.
Yeah.
This play pokes at that a little bit. How woke are you?
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely
really,
does.
where are your hidden stereotypes? Like, what are you really thinking about?
I remember going like that. Something that was said, I can't remember now what it was, but I remember in the moment being like stopped dead in my tracks of, I can't believe they just said that.
And that's been so exciting for me to see that response. You know, Layla has a line in there that says, you know, who are you writing for?
Right.
You know, who are you writing for? You know, conservatives won't read a brown author, you know, and you offend all Muslims, you know, and so she goes on to talk about, you know, who her audience is and who she thinks his audience is. And it's been really gratifying to see people come and say, this is such an important play. And then, you know, obviously with what just happened in New Zealand and everything, it's just like even more of a
absolutely.
Wow.
And that happened after I saw it, obviously.
Right.
But that's got to lead
Totally.
a new heaviness when you're performing every night.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think about them. Like, I mean, you know, I've added that to my pre-show, you know, thoughts. But
now that you've been entrenched in the theater again, is there any part of you that really wants to stay here and pursue more theater, or is there a possibility you guys may do this on the West Coast? I know that, you know, Sandal's still filming New Amsterdam.
Yeah,
right now.
I don't know. I know that, you know, the play will definitely have more life,
right.
And other shows and stuff like that. I don't know, but I love the theater. I mean, it is my home. It's my first love, and you know, I have a child in LA. You know, so I mean, my life. I mean, I really look forward to building a bi-coastal existence. I love it. And
speaking of your daughter, what's that like? I don't know that you can speak from her perspective, obviously, but having a mother who was in the industry and being fully supportive and just having that connection, that must bond you even more. Than,
for sure.
You know, at such a young age, I assume that she's
15.
15, yeah.
And, you know,
of all the the teen years, I mean,
it's
to have something that you can. I left her in California. I don't want to know anything about her.
No,
right?
no. I'm on top of what's happening there, but I'm just.
But that's awesome, especially as a teenager with a mom who, at that age, good chance you guys could butt heads, but you now have this thing.
Well, we do butt heads. She is still a teenager, and I'm still a mother of a teenager. But no,
but in
terms, for
bond,
sure. And she has my support. 100%.
Which is so important from a parent, especially at that young age, to be able to pursue a dream like that.
Oh, I mean, and as I said, I've wanted this since I was a child, you know, and it was just not in the realm of understanding or possibility for my parents. It was just not a thing. You know, I can't blame them. I mean, it was just not a thing. You know, whereas with her, I mean, it's all I've ever known. So of course, when I saw that she's super talented. She sings, she dances, she acts, she writes music, she plays music. She's incredible, you know. And when this opportunity came for her to audition, it came through my voiceover agent, who is now her agent as well. And she killed it, and she booked it on her own, you know, and she, you know, and of course I'm going to support her. And she came and saw this, and she was like, hey, fuck, mama, do I really need to see this? and I said yes, because it's the best work I've ever done, and it's an important play.
With the sex scenes?
Yeah, I mean, she was holding on to my sister, like squeezing her hand. But she also said, you know, she knew that I was I'll misquote her. She already told me I misquoted her once, but you know, she said
and
that
this is on video forever.
I know forever. But she said, you know, she's like, I always knew you were a really good actress, but I didn't know you could do this. Best review. I'm done.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's it. You know, it's like I needed her to see this. I needed her to be able to see me doing this. I'm a single mom. You know, I think it's really important we show our children, not just tell them, you know, how we want them to live, and we're, you know, a home of working actresses.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So why don't you talk a little bit about the film that you have coming up? It's Boris and the Bomb, right?
Correct. Passion project based on a web series called And Boris that had a few seasons. The executive producers, friends of mine, they're a married couple, Jen and David, who are incredible, David Cronmiller and Jen McLean. And they invited me to be a part of the 3rd season. I played an MI5 spy. I got to be badass,
Oh, yeah.
kick butt and everything, amazing. And then when it came time to do the 4th season, we lost an actor who no longer wanted to be a part of the project. So it was like, well, I guess we're done. And then I said, why don't we do a feature? And then these 2 crazy kids like wrote a script in 6 weeks.
Wow.
It was incredible. I read it and I just said, I want to help produce this. And there were about 5 of us producing. We shot it about 2.5 years ago. And on the day the show closes, it premieres in Los Angeles. When it rains, it pours. Yeah. So I'm missing the premiere. My daughter's in it as well. So now it's 12 years later, and it's Boris and the Bomb. 12 years later, my character Maya is ex-MI5, the mother of a 12-year-old who is played by my daughter, Kavi Ladnier. And yeah, the film is based on a character named Boris. He's ex-KGB. He is this teddy bear of a fighter slash so-called bad guy, who has to deal with this bomb. And there are many bombs, that have been kind of buried around by a dark government or pseudo-government agency. And it's a comedy, but it's got such poignancy, and acting is incredible. We have Pete Gardner from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Ferran Tahir, who's an Iron Man, and just tons of stuff. Excellent actors. The fighting is next level. The guys who do the fighting and who choreograph the fighting, like I expect to see them working at the top levels, of their craft. They're incredible. So yeah, it's been amazing, and I'm sad that I won't be there, but it was, and I literally got this job right after we had set the date for the premiere, and obviously I couldn't say no to this job, but so it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to miss
out. To a Monday. You're the star.
It was already set, and people were flying in and everything like that, and I wouldn't have done that to them. But it's super exciting, and this is my first feature that I've produced. I love producing. I think that's what we need to do as actors, is we need to create our own content, and that is what we did. We created our content that is exciting, and now we want to sell it to Netflix.
Yay.
So Netflix, buy it from us,
or we'll tag Netflix.
Yeah. But I'm excited. Boris and the Bomb, and keep an eye out. We'll be dropping a new trailer this week, and I'm super excited. Between Hate Fuck and Boris, I'm happy girl.
Yeah, I can see. I could talk to you for another hour. I know you have to get up to the theater.
I do.
So I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck on the last 7 performances.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see what you do next. You are just such an engaging actress.
Thank you so much.
And now I can also say, in a very engaging human being.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for your time. I very much appreciate it.
Take care.